Guys, I like The Witcher 3. I am part of a small minority of only 28 million who bought this game. It's not perfect, but it was successful enough in keeping me engaged with its world and characters to make me absolutely complete everything there is to do in it. Obviously, having enjoyed The Witcher 3 so much, I was looking forward to CD Projekt Red's next game with cautious anticipation. After all, I've been had before. So, I've been playing Cyberpunk 2077 for about a month now, and here's what I think about it.
I have nothing to say.
Let's get this out of the way. A new generation of graphics card just came out, and I managed to buy one of them. On an almost top-of-the-line computer, this game looks phenomenal. Most of the time. Ray tracing in this game looks absolutely gorgeous. However, not everyone will be able to run the game at such high settings. I recommend doing some research to see what kind of performance your computer could get you before purchasing the game. I don't plan on discussing any of the console-specific stuff, since I don't own any of them. I will allow myself to say this to any potential buyers planning to experience this game on PlayStation 4 or Xbox One.
Don't.
Back to my subjective impressions. This game is pretty enough to have me walk around it just to admire the scenery. There are some issues, however. You see, graphics are cool, but when a game reaches for a realistic art style, such as the case here, it is very susceptible to immersion breaks. At times, it feels like the game goes out of its way to remind the player that they are in a game. I saw a lot of weird behavior from cars and peoples, the most common being the constant popping in and out of existence. There are some specific elements that I want to show. The first one that annoys me is the wrist wire. I think I've seen the proper animation for it once, twice maybe. Otherwise, it always glitches out. It's very distracting, and I don't understand why it messes up every time. The second element are player reflections in general. They only really work with mirrors, and only if you interact with it. The result is this weird universe where mirrors need to be turned on for some reason. It would have been less jarring to not feature player reflections at all compared to the current implementation in the game. Those were some examples of the recurring visual bugs that I've had in the game. They break immersion. Hopefully they get fixed in the future. Oh, also, film grain is dumb and it ruins this game. Turn it off. Just if you're playing this game, just turn it off. I'm not much of a music guy, so I'm not gonna linger on this. The music in this game is cool and it fits the tone and setting perfectly. The many radio stations offer cool tracks, and the ambient music that plays gives off this techno dystopian vibe that fits the story's settings, and even sometimes the story beats perfectly. In fact, you're listening to it right now. Hopefully such a beautiful game is not all eye candy and has some actual substance to offer, right? Kinda. The game is a first-person action RPG, ? And I think it did a good job in that department. The meat of the game is a mix of exploration and dialogue interactions, some enemy encounters, and driving. Most of these activities can be influenced with equipment, consumables, skill points. The equipments include weapons as well as clothing, which influence your damage and defense, and may also contain additional bonuses as well. Some equipment can be even modified by the player with modifiers or upgraded, or you could even acquire brand new equipment from crafting. The skill point system is very diverse and offers different styles of play. These points influence your direct enemy encounters, as well as some dialogue options. Although none of this is new or groundbreaking, I felt like it was a good implementation of these systems that I've seen messed up so many times. They all add up to an engaging experience where the progression of the player character has actual impacts on the gameplay, and it's very satisfying to put points into a skill and then being able to escape a tricky situation shortly after using that skill. There's also a wanted level a la Grand Theft Auto, but as far as I'm concerned, it's fucking garbage in this current state. The police officers can be escaped from by running or driving a block or two away. It's laughable. This is all fine, but what was promised by CDPR was much more. In this current state, probably the final state, this is a fine game, but they promised the world to us. Of course, I'm pretty pessimistic about promises in games, so I wasn't actually expecting all of the features that they've mentioned to be in the game, and I wasn't really keeping up with the news pre-launch surrounding this game, but a lot of people are disappointed. This game has less to do than The Witcher 3 or even Skyrim, games from 2016 and 2012 respectively. In terms of bugs, I haven't actually seen that many affect the gameplay. The ones that come to mind are cars appearing out of nowhere and hitting me without actually killing me, being thrown by an unknown force a couple of times, again without killing me, although I've seen people get soft locked online. The game world also offers some side activities to increase your level and improve your character, but these are generally just enemy encounters or other generic quote-unquote missions, so they weren't super engaging. In the best cases, the player would be motivated equally by the progression system and the story. However, that was not the case for this game, because I think the story is good. However, it also works against the basic gameplay loop of the game. There is a very real feeling of urgency in this game that is ever present. The game even goes out of its way to remind the player very often of this urgent threat. Usually, when I play an open world game, I like to roam around the map and complete some of the side activities just for the sake of leveling up my character. In this game, the sense of urgency got me focused on the main story throughout most of my playthrough. The game will even artificially halt the main story by having the main character wait for a random phone call in what seems to me like an attempt to force the player to experience something other than the main story. This solution is very cheap. It felt forced and would only succeed in frustrating me until Daddy Project Red would allow me to continue the main story once more. The main problem here is that the playground given to you feels like an afterthought, or at least a side thought. And in fact, after I finished the main story, I was left with most of the side content untouched, yet zero motivation to experience it due to having beaten the game already. I felt urged to finish the game. The game even teases a permanent solution to the problem that causes this sense of urgency I've been referring to, and in the end, the experience felt lessened because of it. I tried going back and completing some of the side activities, but I can't bring myself to it. I have no better way to explain it than I just don't care for these activities now that the main story is over. This feels like a case of ludonarrative dissonance, where the gameplay tells me I have time to explore all of this cool stuff, but the story tells me I have this urgent matter that cannot wait. I was receiving very mixed messages here. If we move past this somehow, the story itself is alright. The story is not absolutely unique, but it kept me intrigued, and the cool, well thought out setting kept me engaged. The characters have great personalities, and some of them felt unique. As mentioned before, I stayed away from marketing materials and most of the pre-launch news, so I was actually surprised by Johnny Silverhand, Keanu Reeves' character. I did not expect to hate the character so much. I felt actual hatred towards him and often spoke to him in the game based on my real life emotions. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. That's good writing and good acting. My hatred felt real. The other characters, especially the romanceable ones, are very charismatic and they grew on me quickly. I played with the male main character, and his voice actor actually did a great job. When I first started playing, I wasn't really too sure I would like him, but he really grew on me, and it was a believable performance, all things considered. The world itself is surprisingly believable. People walk around with cybernetic implants, and it all feels coherent because it's part of the story and it fully embraces it. If it weren't for the visual bugs explored earlier, I would have been fully immersed in this world. To sum up my feelings on this game, it's alright. There's nothing that groundbreaking about the gameplay, but the world is beautiful and the story is cool, and I can tell that a lot of people will love it. Even if you only complete the main story and some of the cooler side missions, I still feel like there's plenty of content here to justify the purchase. However, I would urge you to wait for a sale. Maybe the Steam summer sales. Maybe in fall. Who knows? By then, not only will you pay less, but chances are, most of my gripes with this game, the bugs, will be fixed. And if we're lucky, maybe they'll even add some of the missing content that they promised. Like wine, this game will only get better with time. So take your time. Wait for a sale. Play something else. For now. And then come back to it. Anyway, that's it for me. And I'll see you in 6 months when I'll review something else.